All right, all right. Well, I'm out here today, and I have not done anything on electric mowers in a long time. In the past, I've shown how to troubleshoot some of the corded ones and some of the wireless ones. I have a few that are just, they're battery operated, they're wireless, but the batteries are bad, right? And I think I have 3 or 4 of those like that, and a couple of plug-ins. And a couple of them I sold. I've saved these for a different kind of project, or maybe for parts. But anyway, what brought this on? I came across an electric mower, and it's a fairly recent one, maybe a year old, and it's a Craftsman. And it was just on the side of the road. I looked at it and, well, shit. So I snagged it. And well, let me show you what I got. Well, there she blows. So you can see it's the Craftsman, has the 2x V20, so 20-volt batteries, and it's the same batteries they use on all their power tools and all that good stuff and other equipment. And when I got this, it didn't have batteries, so I stuck a couple of them on there, charged them up, and those are aftermarket batteries. I didn't get Craftsman. I didn't feel like, paying out of the wazoo over at Lowe's. And like I said, I believe for the 2 batteries like that, I paid less for the 2 batteries and the chargers than I would have for a single battery at Lowe's. The other thing, when I got this in, the blade was just spinning. And you can see this is supposed to be the safety key that you put on there, and there was no safety key. But I did do some work on it, and I'll show you what I did. So when I very first got the mower, of course, I always give it a quick look over to see if there's anything drastically wrong with it. But that was one of the first things I saw, was the blade just chattering around under there. And I took a look at it, and I'm just hoping, I hope there's a problem with the blade or a problem with the mount. I hope it's not a busted motor or something like that, because that would be, very expensive to fit. But as I took it apart, I just looked around at it and made sure everything was there. And I checked the motor, checked the shaft, and it felt fine. It's not like the motor was frozen or anything. And I kept test fitting everything. Started wondering, well, is it missing a washer or a spacer or something? What is going on? And I just finally broke down and took a look at the diagram online, and sure enough, it was just 2 of the spacers back behind the motor. They were just put in inversely, right? So, and that was the only problem. After I test fitted it and got everything on there, it actually fit like it should. So I don't know if whoever owned this before me was messing with the blade, or was this assembled probably coming from Lowe's. Was it assembled there? Was it assembled wrong? Or did somebody take the blade off to sharpen it and couldn't figure out how to get it back together? I have no idea. There's no telling, because it's not an old mower. It's probably a year old, my guess is, because this model is still up there at Lowe's for sale. So, never had this before. Didn't have it on there right. Always helps to look up the diagram, right? Okay. And the blades, yeah, the blade's actually pretty sharp. A little rusty there, but I mean, it's really sharp. So maybe it was put together wrong from the start and they never could get a good cut. Right? So this is where the key is supposed to go. Now, I'm assuming it just inserts in and it's magnetized, maybe a magnet. It's a magnetized switch. Don't know. I'll get a magnet and see what happens. And I did get some batteries to fit in there. They should be charged by now, and then we can see if this thing will work. Alright, so I got a couple of batteries, and these are third-party batteries. And I am a cheapskate when it comes to this. Hopefully these batteries are good. They're lithium ions. They meet the specs. They're supposed to be, anyway. But when I started looking these up, I went and got the aftermarket ones because the price of 2 batteries, 6 amp hour, and the charger I got for much less than I could have gotten with just 1 battery at Lowe's. Right? So, plus I don't even know if this is going to work or not. So I didn't want to take the chance. But what I could also do, since these batteries do work on all the Craftsman hand tools, so it won't go to waste. I mean, if they don't work, and I have a little magnet here. I'm gonna just drop it in. All right, so I threw the magnet in. Don't know if it's gonna work or not. Battery's in, they're charged. The blade is on there securely. And you're supposed to press the button. Come on, girlie, don't stick your nose down there. Well, it worked, so I guess this little magnet, I'm going to take the magnet out and see what happens. Watch your feet. Yeah, nothing. So that's it. I'm just going to have to make something. Very quiet. Actually pretty cool. Well, there's a sketch of what the keys make sure it sound right, boys. Let me jot this down. Down. It sound right, boys. Well, there's the key, and you see the magnet on it. And I just put some super glue on there just to make sure it's not going to come off too easy. It was a press fit, but it felt kind of loose. Well, that's it. Let's see if it'll... It's a tight squeeze, but it's in there. Looks like it's side to side is where it's tight. So I can still rock it back and forth. But it's on there. Well, let's see if it'll work. Let's make sure this is gonna work, Gertie. Alright. Hey, come here. Better watch out. Did the trick. The key works. It's a tight fit, but I almost like it that way. It's less chance of it just popping out. You know what I mean? Well, all right. I guess I can test it on the yard now. So I immediately took it out for the first test cut and went out in the yard, and it wasn't that overgrown in that spot, but it was cutting it very clean, very level, and it was handling very well, you know, with and without the self-propelled. And I took it to a spot where I knew there was some higher grass, and it cut very well, just plowed right through it. Now some of the stuff was long, but it wasn't that dense, right? Wasn't really thick, but some of it was pretty tall. But it managed it very well. You know, what can I say? It was so far I was pretty pleased with it. You can see some of the grass. Some pretty long length still, right? It's not. Doesn't seem like it's mulching that great. Yeah, see, there's some, but left with some pretty long strands, but you can see the cut, it's pretty clean cut. So I know it was cutting very well, and I just started noticing the width of the cut, so I went and measured, and sure enough, it's just a 19-inch blade. And it's not that big of a difference. Usually you see a 21-inch, 22-inch maybe. But when you're out there going back and forth, you notice the difference towards the end. It's just a little bit more walking. But so when you're cutting this, the mower looks wide. It looks like low and very wide. But when you're cutting, you got to make sure you're within that 19 inches within the wheels, or you're going to be left with a strip, right? So everybody's always talking about the plastic on it. It's all made of plastic, cheap, and all that good stuff. It's like, well, I really don't mind that, but it adds. That's why it's lightweight. It's lightweight, easy to maneuver, easy to handle. But I have seen some mowers in the past that if you hit something, you can damage the blade, you can damage the motor, or just knock everything off of the plastic mounts, right? So. Yeah, we'll see how this goes now. Maybe, hopefully, they're built a little better than in the past. So one thing I really liked, I like the fact with these handles, it's you can fold it up and lay it flat, and you can store it on edge, right? You can pick it up and put it in your garage, in your shed, upright, and has a very small footprint. It's pretty cool. You don't have to worry about spilling any oil or gas or anything like that. So that was a big bonus. And the knobs were really, really easy to disengage and engage. They're spring loaded, so it's really easy to pop them on and off. Now this model has the self-propelled on it, and it does haul butt, you know, if you're going to use it. But given that it's so lightweight, I could do with or without it, right? But it's just a matter of preference. And while I was rolling around, I started looking at the wheels thinking, man, I don't mind all this plastic, but I sure would like to see some beefier wheels on here. It'll be interesting to see how long these last, right? But we'll see what happens. Alright, so this wasn't exactly a long-term test. That was only about 20 minutes worth. And I'm still getting 2 out of 3 bars. So could it last 50 minutes? It just might. I forgot to show you. They might last 50 minutes because these are 6 amp hour batteries, while the factory ones are 5 amp hour, and they're touting 50 minutes. And this one, 6 amp hour, just might make it. So they are a little larger. Well, all right. So that it's working pretty good, actually, isn't it? It was just tightening the blade. It was just the spacers were put on in the wrong sequence. So a couple of spacers, I just had to flip them around. Mounted the blade. It looked great. I put the 2 new batteries in there. Charged them up all morning, and they were 3/4 of the way charged anyway when I got them. Charged those up, slapped them in there, and 3D printed the safety key. Because it's just a magnetic switch. It just, when I first started using it, I just threw a magnet in there, and that was enough to trip it, right? For some reason, this key is the only one I've seen from that type of key was on this model. The ones that are push mowers and everything else, they have a different key, and it's located up here by the junction box here, and the key you stick in here in the back. But not in this case. So I guess if you're needing one, I'll have the 3D models for them. Anyway, those will be available one way or another. I'm kind of pleased with this mower. I'm anxious to do a long-term test on it, because a lot of the mowers in the past, I kind of shied away from them just for that reason I showed you. That a lot of times the batteries are going dead, and they're awfully expensive to replace, right? But with this one, I was pretty pleased with this, and I think electric mowers are starting to come of age. And I think it's the battery technologies that have pushed it over the edge. The egos are decent. So far, I'm pretty pleased with this Craftsman. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Milwaukee's coming out with them, even DeWalt. And the reason for that is because of the batteries. Now all their design work is centered around the core battery, right? So now you have all the tools, all the yard tools, all your power tools that are running off that same battery. So instead of having all these different batteries at a very costly price to handle all your equipment, you can standardize on one battery. Say if you're going to standardize on, like on this Craftsman, if I decided to standardize on it, well, I can use them on the mower, I can use them on weed eaters, blowers, but also on my hand tools, right? And you can do that with Milwaukee's lineup, with DeWalt's lineup. Just matters what tool you like, and just plan on standardizing around that battery. Okay, I rambled on quite a bit there, but hopefully it's some good info, and I know I'm going to be coming out with a lot more videos on electric equipment, because I do have a background with sustainable energy, had a couple of patents in the solar arena, and a lot of my stuff, it was solar chargers and everything, and it's focusing on the consumer electronics field, right? And now I still even fool around with solar. Yeah, I have one on my tent here. I don't know if you can see that. A little tiny one, but it powers my spotlight. And so when I'm working out at night over here, or something comes by, and it's been working great. But then I have larger solar panels that will power everything all night on this thing, or when I go camping or something like that. But anyway, I do have a background on that. Like I said, I think this electric equipment is coming of age, so I'm sure I'll be covering a lot more on it. And I guess I'll quit rambling here, but just a heads up, hopefully I'll be able to review many more, many more units here. So far, I've only had a few that I could really test and give a good review, and but we'll see what happens in the future, right? So I guess that's it for this video. As always, thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch for my next video.